to episode 262 of the Various and Sundry Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Harmon, joined live in the Vault Studio, the beautiful campus of Grace College and Grace Theological Seminary.
Nice job.
By my good friend, my colleague, my co-host, and the man who is admittedly out of practice for in-studio podcasting.
Yeah, I forgot to put my headphones on.
John Scott Sloat.
So what's happening, Doc?
Well, this is the first episode of 2025.
I suppose it is. It feels like it's not because we recorded the 29th we recorded, right?
The 30th.
The 30th.
Because we released an episode on New Year's Eve.
That's right. So this is the first one of the new year, I suppose.
Yeah, happy 2025.
Yeah. How did you celebrate 2025? Did you ring it in any special way?
I picked up my son and his wife from the airport.
Oh, nice.
And dropped them off at home.
Which airport?
Fort Wayne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was about to say, Fort Wayne's not a huge commitment for you, but Indy would be a massive commitment.
Yeah. No, it was nice. They were down in Florida.
Nice.
So they had gone out. They had gone out with us to Omaha, and then flew from Omaha to Florida to be with.
What part of Florida?
Sarasota.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Over there on the west
That'd
coast
be the
of
Gulf Coast.
Yeah. It feels like that's where Midwesterners go.
Yeah.
Like East Coasters go to the East Coast of Florida and Midwesterners go to the West Coast of Florida. I'm not saying that's an ironclad rule, but it's just generally true.
So when are your parents going to get a place down there?
They had a place down there.
Well, I know they used to live in Tampa. But
Yeah. They no longer live there, though.
Right.
I have no idea. I don't know that they will. I think they're probably more likely to have a place in North Carolina.
Okay. Well, there's some North Carolina's a lovely place, but there's also some family
ties
there. Yeah. Yeah. So, what about you? Any big? I know you're a late night, stay up late.
Oh yeah, party hardy,
New Year.
well past midnight.
Yeah. So, did you stay up till 10:30?
No, I didn't make it that long. It's 9:45, maybe 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And yeah, the fireworks didn't even wake me up this year. So
there were fireworks?
Our neighborhood is big on fireworks.
Yeah?
Isn't that interesting? Like 4th of July, I understand fireworks. But 2 weeks after the 4th of July, it feels like they're still clearing out their fireworks.
Oh, well, I mean, I feel like in my neighborhood, it's like 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after. Almost every night, somebody's shooting fireworks off somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like I hear them in August, though. In August, is that a gunshot or a firework? What was that?
Yeah.
Somebody put down Old Yeller? What just happened?
Wow, that got dark real quick. That got really dark.
Or a Canadian goose?
If you would like to contact the show and talk to Sloat about his New Year's Eve plans for next year already, you can contact the show on X at VNSPod. You can email the show, variousandsunderpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and on YouTube, and we would love for you to leave a 5-star rating. All right, John, new year. Let's talk sports.
Okay.
New year, new Jets.
We win.
They win.
We're undefeated in 2025.
Yeah. And you're going to remain undefeated for
months.
8 months.
Well, we got the offseason coming. We always win the offseason.
Yeah. So, I mean, you probably took some pleasure in, I guess since the Broncos won, the Dolphins couldn't get in. But, did you have the mixed emotions? Because you could.
Yes.
Obviously.
About the draft pick?
Yeah. I mean, if you win, you lessen your draft pick in terms of its priority. So, so the Jets finished at 5-12, right?
5-12. That's right.
Okay. And I think, do you remember what your preseason prediction was?
Oh goodness, I think it was 12-5 or something like
that.
Was
it? Yeah, maybe 11-6 somewhere.
Yeah,
12-5. Yeah. Okay. Do you think there's any chance that they bring Aaron Rodgers back?
Yes, I think there's a chance.
Okay. Did it bother you that it took until the last meaningless game of the year for Aaron Rodgers to actually play like a semblance of Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, the previous Dolphins game, he threw for 300 yards and played quite well. He had some flashes. He just was never consistent, and So, I mean, it depends what narrative you buy into. Is the narrative that Aaron's old and sort of washed up, but still has some flashes of greatness every now and then?
Yeah.
That's probably where I land. There's another narrative where it's like, well, it's taken him a full year to really get comfortable with his Achilles again.
Okay.
And so he still has the potential for maybe not as great as he was, but some sustained really good football through another year or two. Okay. So, yeah.
Have you seen the Netflix docuseries
No,
Enigma?
I have not.
Are you going to watch it?
Probably not.
Okay, because I've heard some actually good things about it.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm tempted to watch it.
I mean, I have a road trip coming up, so maybe I'll watch it then.
Yeah.
But, I have no plans to watch it currently.
All right. So let's talk a little bit more NFL here.
Okay.
Big game of the weekend, obviously, was the Lions-Vikings. Did you catch any of that?
I did not. I saw some highlights.
Okay. Lions win, which not surprising, but that clinched the 1 seed for them.
Yep. And the Vikings are very, very good.
They are, though Sam Darnold did not play well last night.
Yeah.
He missed several opportunities to make plays that he probably should have made that would have made the game a little bit more interesting and wasn't able to do that. So
yeah.
But both those teams are very good. And it'll be interesting to see how the playoffs shake out. And in the AFC, Chiefs number 1 seed, obviously 15-2. They didn't play any starters and got thumped by Denver.
Yeah.
Who by winning got into the playoffs.
Yep. They didn't back in. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when you play a depleted team like that, though, I mean,
it's kind of backing in. But usually backing in is you lose.
Right.
You lose and you still get in.
That's fair.
I did catch the Buffalo Patriots game.
Okay. Another game where you have the fan base rooting against their team unsuccessfully in this case.
And Josh Allen did start that game to keep his consecutive start streak alive.
I didn't
he
catch
took the
the
first
beginning.
snap and handed it off and then came out of the game.
Yes. Speaking of statistics, did you see at the end of the Tampa Bay game, even though Tampa Bay was up, could have just kneeled it down, they ran a play to get Mike Evans the 5 yards he needed to get him over 1,000 yards of receiving.
Okay.
Which got him a $3 million bonus.
Wow.
And it tied, it was his 11th consecutive 1,000-yard receiving season, tying Jerry Rice for the all-time.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, and the way that his teammates celebrated, you would have thought that they had just won the division or something. They went nuts. So fun to see that. I mean,
it's fun to see when a guy's really liked in a locker room
Yeah.
like that. That is a lot of fun to see.
yeah. So, playoffs will start this upcoming weekend. You want to go out on a limb and make a Super Bowl pick for each conference?
Oh my goodness! So who's the matchup is going to be in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, why not?
Let's see here. I will take in the. I will go. It's going to be. Oh my goodness! I'll go Buffalo and Detroit.
You took mine.
Did I take yours?
Yes. Yeah. I think this is finally the year that Buffalo clears the Kansas City hurdle.
That's a tough Denver team. That Denver team's playing really, really well.
Yeah.
So they got that. And then they have Baltimore-Pittsburgh, whoever wins that. I think Baltimore is a tough matchup for them.
I just don't trust him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably too much reading into the history, but, how many years have the Ravens come into the playoffs and been a high seed with Lamar Jackson and just not
performed?
Not performed. So we'll see. But
and then, I think they got a shot against Kansas City. Detroit, I think they win the matchup between the Rams and the Vikings. I think whoever comes out of that, I think that the Lions beat them.
Yeah.
And then, a team I haven't talked a lot about this year or heard much about is the Eagles.
Yeah, they've been somewhat under the radar.
Other than Saquon Barkley jumping over people backwards,
Right.
that's pretty much all I've heard.
Well, I think part of it is they didn't start the season well.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were something like 3-3 or something like, and then they just went on this terrific run where they've been dominant. And so I think people have kind of, in all of the excitement over the NFC North with Detroit and Minnesota, I think they've kind of flown under the radar a little bit. So yeah, yeah, doesn't make for great radio, but I agree with you. Buffalo and Detroit, two sort of hard scrabble Midwestern.
We call
cities.
Buffalo, New York, Midwestern.
Yeah, I still
Are you willing to call that Midwestern?
I still think of them as Midwestern. Even do
you think of Pittsburgh as Midwestern?
Yeah,
I do. I think of Pittsburgh as Midwestern.
Yeah,
but Buffalo.
Yeah, okay, maybe I'll back off the Midwestern and go blue collar. How's that?
Blue collar, certainly.
Yeah, I
was willing to go Canadian.
Yeah, well, that's. I guess they're on the wrong side of the river to be in Canada. But,
that's true. Although I think most of their fans come from Canada.
Really?
Yeah, I guess I'm not saying that with any real authority or statistics to back it up, but what group of people love to be outside in the cold and jump on tables and break them? It feels like it's Canadians.
Canadians, eh? All right, let's talk college football.
Okay.
Much to my surprise, I was delightfully wrong about the Ohio State-Oregon matchup. That was a dominant win by Ohio State.
Yeah. I think I texted it was 21-0, where I was just like a statement.
Yeah. Raced out to a 34-0 lead about midway through the second quarter. That's about as dominant as I've seen Ohio State play.
And do you like them against Texas?
Well, if they play like that, nobody beats them.
Mm-hmm.
That version, and this is why I think, there's part of the frustration during the season is just we finally saw the ceiling. Like, that's what they could be against both Tennessee and against Oregon. Like, that's what we were thinking they would be at their best. And it's taken, 14 games to get here, but here we are. Now the question is whether they can if they play at that level, they will win the national championship. Now the question is whether they can keep that up.
Yeah.
You hear all the superlatives about Jeremiah Smith, and it's hard to believe he's as good as he is as a freshman. You see opposing coaches saying he's NFL ready right now, and you see NFL scouts saying if he was eligible for the draft, he might be the number one overall pick, and he's 18 years old. I think he might just turn 19 recently. But he came into college with an NFL ready body, and he's put in the work. So we'll see. So they take on Texas, as you said. I think the last time I saw Ohio State was a 6-point favorite.
Yep, 6. I'm sure that'll fluctuate between now and Friday.
Yeah. And then so that means Texas. I don't know if you got any of the Texas against Arizona State game.
I know it was an overtime game.
It was. Yeah, Texas dominated that game. Was up 16 early fourth quarter, and then they kind of fell apart. And Arizona State rallied, sent it to overtime. And a very entertaining game. I think. That was the only close game of these quarterfinals, right? Penn State thumped Boise State as we expected, and Notre Dame overpowered Georgia.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise.
A little bit. I think the spread was only 2. So I think Vegas thought it was, that's not far. You get under 3 points, and you're basically saying it's kind of flip a coin kind of
Sure.
thing. So yeah.
Like Notre Dame or Penn State?
I don't know what to think of either of these teams, to be honest.
Because you don't really like either of those teams.
No. I think probably Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Probably. If you're Penn State, I worry about 2 things. One is you still have James Franklin as your coach, and he's notoriously bad in really big games. Mm-hmm. And you can say, well, they've just won 2 big games against overmatched opponents. Mm-hmm. And that's the second thing that I'd be worried about is going from Boise State and SMU to Notre Dame is a step up a pretty significant step up in competition, especially on the offensive and defensive lines. And I just don't think that I'm just not sure that Penn State's ready for that. I mean, Penn State lost this year to Oregon and they lost to Ohio State. And in both of those games, they lost the line of scrimmage. And I think Notre Dame's offensive line is probably it might be the best offensive line left in the Final Four.
What do you think Brian Kelly thinks right now?
I don't know.
He had a great thing going there.
He did. At the same time, I don't know that was always the best fit between him and Notre Dame as an institution. Marcus Freeman's a better culture fit for Notre Dame than Brian Kelly was. And, my worry with Notre Dame is I'm still not so – I think Marcus Freeman is great with his players. I think some of his in-game decision-making is he's still a little young on the coaching front. So we'll see. We shall see. What a world. What a world we live in. That game is Notre Dame, Penn State. Thursday, Ohio State, Texas, Friday, and then the national championship game the following Friday on the 20th.
They're putting that on a Friday?
Monday. Did I say Friday?
You said Friday.
I meant Monday. It's a Monday. I hate that they put it on Monday nights.
Yeah. I don't.
Anyway, that should be on a Saturday night, and so should the Super Bowl, by the way. But
yeah. Or Monday needs to be a national holiday after the Super Bowl.
There you go. All right. But by the way, I think regardless of who makes – if you're the college football powers that be, and really if you're ESPN, you have to be thrilled with this Final Four. 4 huge names.
Yeah, you love Texas, you love Ohio State, you love Notre Dame being in there. Penn State's probably the outlier.
They are, probably.
You'd probably want –
If you had an Ohio State Notre Dame national title game, the ratings for that would be through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas Notre Dame would be huge as
too.
Well, though.
Ohio State Notre Dame, they're what, 4 hours apart?
Yeah, that's probably about
right. So they're pretty close. I'm trying to think.
They played last year and the year before in the regular season.
If you took Penn State out of there, who would you put in to get bigger ratings? Would it be Alabama?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for a blue blood who has a large following.
Florida?
No, I think Alabama would draw more than that. Honestly, the team I think you'd put in would be Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway. All right. We'll see what happens. I guess we should pick these. Should we? Let's go on record. Ohio State or Texas? Who you got?
I'm taking Ohio State.
Okay.
Who are you taking?
I'll take Ohio State. And then Penn State, Notre Dame.
I'll take Notre Dame.
I'll take Notre Dame as well. So okay.
Violent agreement.
Yes. Too much agreement. We need some airing of grievances. We've passed Festivus here, so.
Yeah, not till next year. No
airing of grievances.
No
I can't promise I can go that long. All right, John. Let's move on to our main topic for today. We've spent several episodes by now talking about the report, the State of the Bible, and they've been releasing each month a new sort of chapter in that, dealing with different data related to Bible engagement and how that relates to other aspects of life. And the last chapter was released back in December here, and it is a chapter on giving. or generosity. So that, of course, caught your eye.
Yep, that's right up my alley.
Yeah. Yeah. So, let's go ahead and just work through this. They start off by talking about giving in general. And they have a paragraph that starts, our survey confirms that charitable contributions in 2023. So, of course, the data is a year behind, right? So,
Sure.
In 2023 were somewhat larger in dollar amounts than the previous year. But we also find that fewer people were contributing. So 68% of the public in 2022 dropping to 59%. That's a significant drop.
Yeah. That's true. We're seeing that in other data as well. Pew does a big I believe it's Pew, does an annual giving report, and we have always grown, and they do the United States. We've always grown in our giving, but the number of donors continues to shrink.
When you say we, are you talking about our institution or just
the United States?
Yeah, U.S. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's true across our institution as well.
So larger total amount of giving, but fewer actual donors. So
That's correct.
So fewer people are doing more, essentially.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's true nationally. And I think it was 2023 was the first year we did not have giving exceed inflation. So if you adjust for inflation, giving was down in 2023. However, I think this report centers more on people of faith and a different survey entirely. And while the trends are the same, I think their numbers are a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because they focus on religious people.
Yeah. So this report suggests that the drop in number of people contributing might stem from the mixed economic results of 2023, more jobs and higher wages, allowing some to give more, but high inflation creating tight household budgets and keeping others from giving it all. I think inflation is definitely a major issue in that.
Yeah, and I think that's just about everybody's read on the situation.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the next section they have is median donations. So looking at the actual donations and John, why do they do median as opposed to just doing average?
Because average would be skewed higher with bigger donors coming from fewer people.
Sure.
Bigger donations coming from fewer people. So yeah, they do median to sort of get like what's the middle dollar.
Midpoint, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so in light of that, the median amount, so basically looking at how much did people give, the median being right in the middle. So over the course of the year, the median in 2022 was $500. In 2023, $700.
Yeah, and that's basically inflation. That's
ish.
Ish, but that's basically adjusted for inflation.
And of course, this is something that you have to take into account too. This is survey data, and people are estimating, right?
Sure.
Off the top of their head, typically. If you're getting a phone call or whatever, and you're taking this survey, you're not rifling through all your giving receipts and going, "Oh, we actually gave $837.24 this year," or whatever the number is. Okay. And then the average donation there. So this does take into account the higher end giving.
Yeah.
Didn't change a lot. Went from $4,121 to $4,768.
So 5.5.
About
550, 575
that'd be
difference.
640.
640 difference.
Yeah.
I can't do math in my head as well documented on the show.
Well documented, yes. All right. So that's all people in this particular group of survey
who have donated, because there are people in this survey that did not donate.
Correct.
And they are taken out.
Yes. Yeah, so those who donated.
Because a bunch of zeros in there would greatly affect the
Yeah.
averages
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah,
mean
for sure.
median.
Okay. So then they tie it to their rubric of scripture engagement. So just as a refresher, they've got 3 categories. They've got the Bible disengaged, basically people who never or almost never read the Bible, listen to the Bible, have any sort of engagement with Scripture. And then the movable middle, as they like to call it, which basically
A couple times a year, right?
I think it's more than that.
Once a month?
I think it's on a monthly basis.
Okay.
Maybe 3 times a month kind of thing. And then the Scripture engaged is once a week at least, I think. Is that or is it date or like
I was thinking it was like it might be weekly.
I think it's weekly.
It might be weekly.
Okay, so based on that, in some ways, the results here should not be surprising, right?
The more you're engaged with Scripture, the more
you tend
the
to
higher
give.
propensity you have to give.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Bible disengaged come in at 43%. The movable middle 75%, and the Scripture engaged 94%.
Yeah. I mean, statistically, that's most everybody. You're getting close to saying just about everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Perhaps what's interesting, percentage giving more than $1,000 for the year. You've got Bible disengaged, 15%. The movable middle, 32%. And then a large jump
Yeah.
to the Scripture engaged at 71%. Anything out of that surprise you?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I think the next one's also interesting, the median giving. So what's the middle point of their giving? And Bible disengaged is 0.
Where are you seeing? Oh, next one. Yeah. There you go.
The movable middle is
0.
right. Obviously, you factor in all the zeros that come with that. I'm sure it's not actually 0. I'm sure it's like 0.2 or something like that. But for our purposes here, 0 works.
Yeah.
The movable middle is $288, and then for the Bible engaged is $2,000.
Yes, another significant difference.
Big jump.
Yeah, and again, this is why they use median, is because you've got someone who's dropping
1.2 million.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That could very much skew the numbers there. So, $2,000 there. Let's see. The next category they look at is recipients of giving by Scripture engagement. Why don't you walk us through that one there?
Yeah, so it breaks it down between giving to the church, what percent give to the church, what percent give to religious causes, and what percent give to non-religious charities in general. Bible disengaged, 24% give to their church.
That's interesting.
It's almost a quarter.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
That's a little bit higher than I anticipated.
Yes.
Even maybe a bit more interesting, a third give to religious charities.
Yeah. Though again, that category can be broad, right? There might be there might be a Catholic charities in their town that runs a soup kitchen or something. And so they're not thinking so much of the religious dynamic. They're thinking of, I want to help the homeless or whatever. And so
I know I've done that. I've given to those sorts of charities before. That, and then 2/3 give to non-religious charities.
Yeah.
The movable middle, about half give to their local church, just over half.
Yeah.
2/3, a little over 2/3, gives to religious causes.
Well, that 50. Wait. The percentage, yes, percent that give to their church. Yeah, okay, yeah, got it. Sorry.
Yep, 2/3 to religious causes, and then about 1/3 give to non-religious. which is interesting.
Yeah.
And then people that are very scripture engaged, almost 2/3 give to their local church. 85% of their other giving outside of local churches to religious causes, and then something like 15% is to non-religious causes.
That 64% number is, to me, surprisingly low.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think it's
Scripture engaged? I mean, you're talking about people who are probably going to church every week.
where do you expect it to be? I mean, not where it ought to be, but where do you expect it to be?
Well, I mean, it ought to be 100%, but I mean, I guess I would have expected something closer to 75 to 80.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And I'm sure, again, neither of us deal in this end of things, but I'm sure there are pastors out there listening, or people who maybe are deacons and work with the financial end of things, and they're probably saying, "Oh, that doesn't surprise me in the least." Because sometimes you hear this even as churches start to prepare for or build up towards like a giving campaign for a building or something like that. I feel like I've been in enough of those contexts where I've heard pastors or consultants or whoever say, well, if we just had everybody, I mean literally everybody, giving something, we would make significant progress right out of the gate kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just to get everybody on board. So anyway, and I'm sure, I mean, how many pastors, unless you're in a prosperity gospel context, like how many pastors want to preach on giving?
Very few.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the things that needs to be preached on, but it's difficult to preach on. And I think if you get a pastor that loves to preach on giving or loves to preach on that, and I don't know why. Maybe you could explain my own psychology to me. It'd almost be like, oh, that's a yellow flag.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't explain why that is, but.
Well, I mean, it's probably because it can easily be seen as self-serving. Like, it's because the pastor earns his living from what's given, right? I mean, that's how the salary of the pastor gets paid.
Yeah.
People give to the church, and part of what the church does with that is
pay the pastor.
Yeah. Or multiple pastors.
So I remember being in I was an intern studying under a guy in Pittsburgh when I was a college student. I remember him telling me that he tried to get mentored by one of the big name pastors in Pittsburgh. And he said, what do I need to know about ministry? What do I need to know about ministry in Pittsburgh? And this guy put him in his car and drove him to the really expensive neighborhood and goes, you need those people in your church, and you need to be best friends with those people because they're going to give to you.
Yikes.
And I remember this guy just being really turned off by that. And I think there's something to a pastor that constantly talks about money it's kind of off-putting.
And some of that's cultural, right? Like as an American culture, we don't like to talk about money at that level. I mean, you don't typically talk about how much you make a year.
Yeah.
In specifics, right? Like, I mean, to be honest, I don't know what you make in a year. I don't know if you might know what I make in a year. I don't know.
I don't know. No.
But it would feel awkward for me to ask you.
It'd be very awkward.
What did you make last year?
I made enough.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, and we're very good friends.
Yeah.
And, I'm not saying I wouldn't tell you what I make.
Yeah.
But it's still awkward, even among friends, to say that.
Yeah. And I've had people volunteer that information to me before. Like, part of my job is talking to people about how much they make.
Sure.
And there's an aspect to that where I have some confidentiality that I need to keep those things private. But I have had people in higher education come up to me like, well, this is what I'm making. It's like, why are you telling me that? Like I'm not going to solicit you. I'm not going to ask you for anything.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes people might do that. One, because I think I don't know. Do people think that university professors make more than they do? Or do they hear maybe what like public university professors make and then assume that the New Testament guy at Grace College is making that?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. But I think sometimes there can be assumptions made based on some of those things, or that I think some people in a sort of Christian college context think they're underpaid.
Mm-hmm.
And so they end up feeling free to volunteer what they make to bolster their point in their mind.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's pick up a couple more things here. The next category is practicing versus casual versus nominal in terms of faith participation. I forget how they define these categories. Oh, here we go. Practicing are those who attend church at least once a month and strongly agree that their Christian faith is important to them. Nominals don't attend church monthly. Casuals have the attendance but not the importance. So they attend probably to feel like they check the box, right?
Yeah.
And so in terms of giving, what do we see there?
I mean, we see kind of what we've seen throughout, right? The non-Christians, it's low. Mm-hmm. Nominals are a bit higher. Casuals are a bit higher than that. And then practicing Christians, it's astronomically higher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both in mean, median, and percentage.
It's interesting to me that when it comes to percentage who gave anything, that the difference between casuals and practicing Christians is only 5%. So 93% of practicing Christians, 88% of casuals.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to make of that. What do you make of it?
I don't know. And here's something. What do you think about this? Do you think that some of the people who are casuals in this context, right, or even the nominals, now that offering plates aren't passed, do you think there's less of them who give? Because there was maybe the social pressure, right?
Yeah.
The plates coming down the aisle, and you don't want to look like the cheapskate who's not putting anything in.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think that's big money. I'm not saying that's big.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time it's probably somebody pulling a $10 bill out of their pocket or something and dropping it in or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. I've thought about that. I thought it was a bad idea to stop passing plates. Mm-hmm. However, as I get into fundraising, most of your gifts don't come from your mass mailers or anything like that, or in this case, passing plates. It comes from special gifts and relationships that are out there.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I think it probably. I don't know. It probably keeps it from happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I said nothing there. But.
Yeah, I don't know that I have an answer to that in terms of what difference does it make if you don't pass the plate.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that in a lot of contexts, not every context, and maybe some of these contexts still pass plates, I don't know. But I think in a lot of contexts, people have moved to giving online, mm-hmm. and it's automated for them probably, right? Or maybe not automated, but, they go into their mobile banking app or their banking website and, here's the mortgage payment, here's the car payment, here's the utility payment, here's my gift to the church or my support for the missionary or they have it set up as, well, every month on the 5th, money just comes out of my bank account or gets charged to my credit card to give to this organization.
Yep. I mean, I do think that's happening. I do wonder. The plate is kind of a regular reminder for people, and so I wonder if there's something lost there because they're not seeing that plate
It could be.
day in and week in and week out.
Yeah, though I think I feel like our church and our pastor in particular does a good job of, and you can tell this is a point of emphasis for him. He regularly thanks the church.
Just about every week.
Just about every week. And so even though we don't have a specific time in the service where there's a plate being passed, there's a reminder of thank you for your generosity to the church. If you'd like to, there are multiple ways to give. We appreciate it. This is what it's helping us do kind of thing.
Yep.
This is how it's helping further our mission. There's the little line on the back of the program that's handed out, right? Year-to-date giving, year-to-date budget.
Yep.
You can see at a glance kind of thing. But I do think maybe in some smaller or poorer contexts, I'm guessing they still might pass the plate. That maybe in those contexts where there's more of a cash economy still as opposed to online banking kind of stuff.
Yeah. Have you ever been in attended a Catholic service before?
It's been a long time, but yes.
They come by with those bags on sticks. Just
Lutherans will do that too sometimes.
Yeah, just all the time. It's like remember I went to a Polish service one time and they're speaking Polish and my goodness, they asked for money like 4 different times throughout the service. Like, what am I made of here?
Yeah, well, we'll chalk that up to some different cultural dynamics, right?
Yeah, and I imagine just because I couldn't understand it, like one was for the operating fund, one was for the poor, one was for I'm sure they had a few different things going on.
Yeah, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that. There's more we could talk about there. We probably need to wrap it up, but I don't know. I just think this is an area where I think it's hard for pastors to strike the balance of talking about it enough and regularly without it coming across as, gosh, this guy just keeps talking about giving money. And making it seem like the church is about, well, you come in here and you got to give, and obviously, biblically, we are mandated to give.
Yeah,
like it's not something that's optional for us as Christians. We are called to give and to give generously. But again, I think part of that's our American context where we feel a little uncomfortable talking about specifics of money.
Sure.
And get nervous about people who like to talk about money a lot.
Oh yeah.
It's off-putting when it feels like someone's showing off their giving, right? Like it's all about them. Like, boy, they really like to parade how much they gave here and there and that sort of thing. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean you can't put your name on a building or.
Oh my goodness, the number of people we have that won't let me put their names on buildings.
Yeah,
just ridiculous. Got to put something up there,
Maybe we should put that Matt Hoffman up there.
Matt Hoffman. Goodness.
All right, John, time now for this day in sports history.
All right, this day in sports history, January the 7th.
That's right.
2025.
Yeah.
Years flying by.
Flying.
1972, Los Angeles Lakers defeat the Atlanta Hawks 134-90 in their 33rd straight win. Longest winning streak in major professional sports.
That's a lot of games in a row.
That's a lot of games in a row. Obviously, at this point in the season, that was a hangover from last season, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the season runs from November through April.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
1989, the Cavaliers blocked 21 shots, tying NBA regulation game record.
Who do they do that against?
It's unknown.
That would be the New York Knickerbockers.
1992, Tom Seaver and Rollie Fingers, that might be the favorite start to a sentence I've read in a while, elected to Baseball Hall of Fame.
I don't think there's ever been a better mustache in the history of baseball than Rollie Fingers.
That's right. Yep.
Did you know my father-in-law tried for a while the handlebar mustache?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. 2007, Phil Jackson wins his 900th game as a head coach, becomes the fastest coach to reach 900 career wins. Really helpful when you have Michael Jordan and Kobe.
Yeah. Yeah, that helps.
On 2 different teams.
Yeah.
for two different
And
eras.
throw in Shaq on the
Throw in
Lakers.
Shaq.
Throw in Pippen for the
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Throw in Steve Kerr. Well, never mind. 2019 College Football National Championship at Levi's Stadium, Santa Clara, California. Number 2 Clemson beat number 1 Alabama 44-16. Thumped them.
They did.
Thumped them. Who do you like?
I mean,
33 straight wins is pretty impressive.
it is, but I'm inclined to go with Rollie Fingers.
You're inclined to. Well, it's Tom Seaver and
But
Rollie
we've done
Fingers.
Tom Seaver before.
Tom terrific. I mean, yeah, that's fine. Rollie Fingers.
Okay, let's do that.
And Tom Seaver.
We'll see what makes the title. Rollie Fingers. One thing you liked.
Played a game over the holiday called Wavelength. Have you played this game?
Yes.
Oh, a ton of fun. We had a
Yes.
blast playing that game.
Yes.
We had a blast playing that game.
Yes. My sons and their cousins were playing that and watched that. So I watched from a distance and enjoyed it. That made me think of another game that we played. I can't think of the name. It's going to drive me crazy. It's a it's called Mind the Gap.
Oh.
Have you heard of this?
No. I mean, I've heard of Mind the Gap.
Right,
Because of
the the
British.
Brits and their subway stations. But sorry, the tube.
That's right.
But it's basically, think of Trivial Pursuit
Okay.
based on generation, though. So it's Boomers, Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z.
Okay.
And the idea is you can either play it where you mix up the generations and put one of those representatives on each team, and you have to work your way around the board. Whoever makes their way around the board by answering questions correctly.
Okay.
wins.
Okay.
Or you can have a team of all Boomers and all Gen Xers and the questions are like, so there's 4 sides of the board. And so on one side of the board, as you're making your way around it, it's all questions from the baby boomer era.
Okay.
So
like pop culture?
Yeah, pop culture, entertainment, news headlines.
Historical events.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Is that your one thing you like?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I could take it since I didn't really have one earlier, but I'm going to go with one of our last episodes of 2024. We talked about things we were hoping to read over the Christmas break.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to circle back around the commentary by Michael Morales on Numbers, the introduction. Just the introduction. It's like 75-ish pages, but most of it's basically a biblical theology of numbers. Terrific. Insightful. Just really enjoyed things that he was pointing out that I had never seen before in the book of Numbers. That's one of those books that I don't necessarily feel like I have a great grasp on the whole of it.
Yeah.
You know specific incidents from it, but the whole overall picture of it, that was very illuminating. So Numbers, it's in 2 volumes, Numbers 1 through 19, and that's already out. The next one, 20 through 36, that comes out this month.
Nice.
So, and that is my one thing I liked. All right, John, we've talked lots of football. We have talked about the state of the Bible and generosity.
Yep.
We have talked about Rollie Fingers
Rollie Fingers.
and Tom Seaver.
And Tom Seaver. That's
We've
right.
talked about Wavelength. And we've talked about Numbers, the book, not the actual numbers.
Not actual numbers. Yeah.
So I think, by definition, we have covered our various and sundry topics. So all that's left to say is, until next time, the Lord bless y'all real good.
Later.